Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you could tell by the title, we will be talking about a winter storm. Again, the chances for this have been growing for the past several days. It looks as if it will be accompanied by a pretty large weather pattern change across the western United States and southwestern Canada. This will mean it will affect much of the United States either with heat, rain, or obviously the cold, the snow, and whatnot. Following this winter storm remains also a very active pattern, obviously, as we continue to delve deeper and deeper into fall and eventually winter within approximately 2.5 months, depending on which definition you use of winter. So, meteorological, astronomical, there's two different timelines for that. That's what I meant by that. And before we get into this, guys, if you would like to support this channel, you can do so by subscribing, liking the video. I'm saying this not because I'm begging for subscriptions. I'm just using it as a reminder that if you do enjoy it, consider subscribing. It really helps out. Consider liking the video, and if you have any comments, concerns, and questions, please feel free to write them. I answer as many as I can, usually getting to most people. Okay, let's start talking about this. We have quite a bit of information to go over. So first off, we are looking at the most updated version of the GFS model run. Notice right there, 18Z. Let's start looking at this. So first off, notice that right now we don't have any signs of a snowstorm going on. And I want to show you that this snow system is, if it's going to occur, which at this point seems more and more likely, it's going to be occurring still a bit far away from where we are currently as of Tuesday, October 5th. It will be occurring approximately a week from today, which again, is a reasonable amount of time away. Not too far though to start talking about it, obviously. And we do have a rain system across the eastern United States. Look at that. Kentucky, Tennessee, the South. It is under a flash flood watch right now. Much of Alabama and Mississippi, and I think the Panhandle of Florida, that may stretch into Georgia from what I remember. Again, a lot of rain has fallen. A lot of rain will still fall, though it won't be as significant as what has already occurred. Notice that it will be pretty much out of there by well, it hangs on for a while, but it decreases in intensity by Thursday. So there could still be a fair amount of rain. And if we were to take a quick glance at this, notice that several locations could still pick up and up to half an inch, maybe even 2 inches, especially as you get into Tennessee and Kentucky. So stay safe with that. Turn around, don't drown when it comes to any flooded roadways or really any body of water. You shouldn't walk in if your basement is flooded due to potentially it being electric. The water, electricity flows through that. So it's really just a wise thing not to stray into water. And again, with such heavy rains, you might be encountering that. Look at the southwest. We also have some flash flood concerns in the southwest. I think there was a severe thunderstorm watch today there. That will kind of, you could see, move into Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, that little rain batch. This will also move to the north. No sign of that pattern change yet, but look at all this precip that starts kind of erupting across the west into this weekend. That is good. I mean, it's definitely could cause some flooding. There's always a bit of a downside with that rain, but really it's more of a good thing. They are very dry in those locations, and they need that rain, so that is definitely going to be a good thing. Notice Wyoming, and it does eventually move into Montana, that rain into North Dakota, South Dakota, and into the plains, definitely dropping some high elevation snow. You can see that's the difference right there. This system not dropping any snow across lower elevations, just across the really the high areas and the highest of the high areas, if you will. And notice that this system does develop a cold front, a warm front. It is again pretty powerful, but it doesn't do much in terms of changing the pattern or whatnot. So you can see it does have a pretty strong area right there across Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma there into next week Monday. That could be causing some severe weather as it moves up towards the north. Again, it will be limited though, probably because it's at this point October, so we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds, but definitely something to note. Look at the Northwest now. This is a week from really Monday, which was yesterday, and Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, seeing decent rainfall, decent snowfall across not just the higher elevations. Notice how the blue is much more widespread than with the previous systems, meaning it is colder. Look at Nevada. We see a stripe of snow develop into Tuesday. That is a definitely a decent stripe of light to, I would say, moderate, even potentially heavy snow. The thing with this is, though, it won't be lasting for too long. It kind of moves out of there by really, what is that? Tuesday afternoon. This is now Wednesday. Wednesday morning, you could see Wyoming, Utah, southern Idaho, Colorado picking up snow. And again, this is kind of like that phase of the storm system that I'm referring as the winter storm. Look at that. That's a lot of snow. And if you're to take a look at this system, that is mainly rain, just snow across the higher elevations. And you can see that it does drop quite a bit of snow where it does snow, but it's not widespread. This one, however, does have some rain with it, but it's a lot more snow. And once the system makes it onto the plains, you can see, look at all that precipitation from Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon. Look at all that precip developing across the Dakotas, Wyoming, Nebraska, Iowa, into Minnesota. That is a lot of precip, and look how quickly it does that. It's very strong winds at this point, and it develops into a very heavy rain event very, very quickly, as these systems often do. And once they make it out from the mountains, the GFS here isn't too excited with the snow on the backside of it. It's just not it just doesn't support enough cold air, or doesn't have enough cold air to kind of create this a lot of heavy rain. And where it is going to be snowing, it is going to be very windy. So you could argue that blizzard conditions are going to be possible. And once this moves out, which you can see it does, it's still a very strong low pressure. It does develop a nasty band of snow on the backside into Alberta, Canada, into potentially Manitoba. So Calgary, large cities getting in potentially on very, very heavy snow. This one just stays just west, or just east actually, of Calgary. But look at that. I mean, that is a monster system, and it kind of does delve and become more of an upper level low. Right there, you could see still snowing into Montana, potentially into Thursday, into maybe North Dakota, into much of eastern Alberta and western. Sorry, I called this Manitoba. It's western Saskatchewan, and as we push this forward, it obviously does move away. Look what happens, though. What's interesting with the cold front of this system, you can see kind of the weak dragging right there. It's very weak, but with some lifting and moisture from the south. Look at that. It turns into a pretty decent rain event for a good portion of the central U.S. At this point, yes, this is pretty darn far out, but just something to note for. Moves into the northeast. And then very, very far out, the GFS does introduce a bit of chilly air, some moisture. We'll have to see what it does with this. And I just want to add that in the long range, really the next 10 days that I'm kind of showing you here, 10 to 15 days, there's just a remarkable lack of cold air. And we do have that little break of that trough as it moves into the west that does produce that snow system. But again, I mean, this is the coldest air the U.S., kind of the central and really east of the Rockies, will see according to this model. And that's not even that big of an anomaly. That's bringing temperatures really just a few degrees below average, if not really even just close to average, because it will be really hot otherwise. And yes, I think it could be one of the warmest Octobers for many, really east of the Rockies. And again, it's hard to feel a warm October because it's not necessarily 90 every day, but 70s and 60s. So it's still relatively pleasant, but some locations across the north should be seeing 30s, 40s, maybe lower 50s, and they're seeing much, much warmer temperatures. And yes, it will be cool for the northwest for a decent portion, but even you could see at the end it does move out from those locations. So we'll just have to wait and see. There finally is some more normally chilly October air that moves in, but again, not really enough to support any kind of a snow system whatsoever across really the eastern United States, just where it's ample across the west and kind of where the mountains can aid with bringing some of that high elevation, really cool air, kind of driving it down the slopes and transitioning some of that into the snow. But really, yeah, it's a snowstorm that we're looking at, and that system that does occur. Well, this model doesn't show its snowfall totals yet. Let's go to this website. That website always has that tropical tidbits where it runs a model, but its snowfall totals always lag behind. But let's take a look. So this is the same model I just showed you. Again, that's our first system, the one that's bringing mostly rain. You can still see some decent amounts for the mountains and plateaus. Look at that, 23 inches right there. And then look, there's our snow system. You can see that's quite a bit of snow, right? Especially into Canada. Look at that. That's 17, 18, 19 inches. That's far away from most, really any mountains. This is again more mountain in this area, so it makes more sense. But you could see Yellowstone potentially 16 to 17 inches, into Wyoming, in northeastern Wyoming, 8, 9, 10 inches of snow. The Sierra Nevada picking up some snow right there. decent snowfall amounts for sure, and in some areas just downright very heavy. 16, 19 inches, pretty widespread right there in northern central Wyoming. Taking a look at the total accumulated precipitation, which is including the rainfall, I want to show you that there is quite a bit of it, and let me show you this in the next right there. That's from that first system alone, so that's already some decent rain amounts, right? That is definitely good. That is actually very encouraging to look at. But as we push this forward, look at that. Boom, it just brings it in and compiles those amounts on top of each other. Many locations, 4, 5, potentially inches of rain. Again, some of that will fall as rain from the first wave, some of it as snow from the second one, so that is good. These areas are dry, they need that. And yeah, you can see, but looking across the eastern United States, also potentially very heavy amounts of very heavy amounts of rain. Look at that into Illinois, Missouri, and again, that's needed. It's rather dry in these areas, especially as you get into Illinois and southern Wisconsin, and the Northeast also. Really just an active pattern, I would say, but not necessarily a snowy or cold pattern. So I showed you this model, the GFS, right? And I showed you its precip outlook and whatnot. Let's take a look now at the Canadian model. So this is another model I want to take a look at, and let's take a look at its snowstorm. Well, how does it differ? So again, that's our system from the south. That's our first system. You can see mainly rain, and it's quite intense as it moves into the plains. Lots of rain. That is good news. And you can see the Canadian does also produce kind of a little strengthening of the cold front from this system, and the GFS didn't do it with this one, but this one right here once it's cold front passed through. So it's interesting how these systems are very eager to develop stronger sides and kind of redevelopment of storms. So it's just kind of a conducive pattern for really rain and activity of any sort. And you can see that right there we do see a bit of that cold air. It takes advantage of it, and look at that. That's a huge area of snow for the west, anywhere from Montana all the way into, really, this model shows northern New Mexico, Colorado. And again, we have this system, if you recall, the GFS develops it much further to the north, and kind of this precip is a bit lagging behind the Canadian. It's from Wednesday it starts erupting this rain, and you can see it spins away right there. Look at that snow falling across the back edge of the system. That is going to be blizzard conditions for sure if this occurs. And as it pushes into Canada, it doesn't have as much snow with it into Alberta and Saskatchewan, unlike the GFS. So again, just from these two models, there's a pretty big difference. And look, it starts redeveloping some snow across really Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and we do have a cold front starting to attach to that system. In terms of snowfall, yep, it will be a rather big event for much of Montana. Billings, Bozeman, I don't know the exact pronunciation, my apologies, into Wyoming, northeastern Wyoming, Utah. Again, lots of snow, and that is a good thing, I would say. Maybe, as long as it's not too much of it. But these areas are dry. They should be able be able to take that snow. The bigger things are more of whether or not it's too early in the season and logistical things with ranchers and stuff like that. So just being prepared is the best, because if you have 20 inches of snow, that's an issue whether you need that snow or not in terms of the groundwater and what. So look at that. Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, decent rain amounts. Obviously, it's quite a bit across the west here as well. Again, this will be mostly falling as snow from that second system, though there will be some rain from that first system. So decent amounts, I would say, rather encouraging. And let's take a look at the European model, European high res, precipitation type and rate. So this is, again, a third model I want to take a look at. It is very good at forecasting. I would say it's the favorite among weather forecasters. And look, so there's our first system across the Wyoming area, the Utah, Colorado, develops across the plains, has that cold front you can see right there into portions of Illinois, Indiana, and whatnot. And then look, we have that pattern change, we have that cool air, we have that snow exploding across Idaho, Montana, Nevada, Utah, just like other models. But this European, what it does is, well, it keeps it more really a similar track to what the GFS does. It keeps it a bit weaker, but still very strong winds, and it has a lot of precip, a much stronger cold front with this system, and it just has a bit less of cold air for it to work with, so it doesn't produce as much snow per se. Still impressive amounts. And notice, look how outstretched that cold front is. Very interesting to see that. And if we were to take a look at that total accumulated, let's take a look at the rainfall first. So this is rain and snow included. That is a massive amount of precipitation, and arguably that's what they need into Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, potentially seeing some decent rains, all of these locations, which is, again, a very good thing. Notice the Northern Plains also picking up decent amounts from that first and that second system that will be occurring. Total snowfall, obviously what everyone wants to see. The European, well, it's a pretty strong advocate of some pretty strong snow, especially more inland into Montana, if you will, more kind of western. I don't know why I said inland. More western and more southern Montana areas picking up more snow. It does show a bit less across eastern Wyoming and eastern Montana, and shows these pockets of moderate snow across the southern Saskatchewan. And yeah, so you can see that's a bit different from, say, what the Canadian showed, which brought a bit more into eastern Montana and eastern Wyoming, and the GFS also brought in quite a bit more into eastern Wyoming and southeastern Montana versus the European. So again, there's quite a bit of differences, and we'll expect to see these and continue to see these. Nothing surprising. And I want to show you the ensembles. Yesterday I showed you all of them. Let's see what they're showing to kind of get a good view. Look at this one, showing quite a bit of snow. This one, again, a lot of snow for eastern Montana, Wyoming. This one just keeps it a bit more inland. That's still a very powerful snow system. This one keeps it even more further inland than any of the three models I showed you. This one keeps it at an odd trek, tries taking it out into the northern plains, into South Dakota, North Dakota, not really into really northern kind of Montana or northern Wyoming. It's a bit of an odd scenario. Shows a lot for the Sierra Nevada, potentially up to 40 inches, so that's interesting. Look at that one. Takes it out into more of a northeastern Montana. We'll have to see if that were to happen. Still gracious amounts of snow across Wyoming. This one keeps it way further towards the east into South Dakota and Nebraska, potentially even seeing snow and across much of eastern Wyoming. This one not as much, a bit further through the south, and probably the one that takes it out very far east into maybe even North Platte, picking up a bit of snow out of that. This one, large amounts, but further inland. This one's a bit less, not as much of a excited model for that snowstorm. There's one that's extremely excited about that. Look at all that snow across the Dakotas, Saskatchewan, and into again Wyoming. Here's one excited, just a bit further inland, kind of inner west, I should say, more appropriate. Look at all the snowfall amounts, by the way, for British Columbia. Just an absolute clobbering with some of these models that they show. Look at them. This one not as excited for that snowfall. This one shows a first wave here, a second wave here, a pretty large disconnect. We'll have to see. Here's one that centers it across Montana. This one centers it across Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming, kind of the borders of those states. Very similar, just a bit less widespread. Here's one that, again, does a similar thing. Here's one that centers it across kind of the Grand Tetons, Wyoming, and southern Montana. Stretches it out a bit. You can see that one. This one's all over the place, honestly. And this one also shows kind of a disconnect between two swaths of snow. We'll have to see if that, that is possible scenario. And you can see that some are less excited, but then you get some that are extremely excited, like this one showing 50 inches of snow potentially in some of these areas, which again I would say is rather ridiculous. But something, if that were to occur, that placement would probably be snowfall amounts closer to 20 inches. This one shows quite a bit actually across northern New Mexico and southern Colorado, and you can see the other ones really did not, so that's definitely an interesting scenario right there. This one also showing more snow into northern Arizona, Mexico. This one brings it out more into the plains, so that's also a very interesting scenario. This one keeps it way further west. You can see that dramatic shift, and there's a lot of differences there. This one brings it all the way into Texas. That is definitely interesting. Definitely an interesting scenario. And I do apologize about that. Look at this one, into Montana. That one keeps it more into Wyoming. A bit lesser amounts, though. Yeah, I mean, you can see just various amounts of differences. And actually, some of them are very far to the east. And some of them are very far to the west. I do apologize about my phone going off there. And notice, right there, not much, but it does show a swipe into North Dakota. Look at that one. Very excited. So what I'm just kind of trying to show you here is the range with these models, right? I'm not trying to show you only the snowy ones. There's snowy ones like this, and you could call that a less snowier one, but that's still a decent system. And actually, let's take a look at it. P47, the ensemble number, and let's go back but take a look at its precipitation type and rate, so I could show you what it kind of shows individually. by itself. And so again, this is what that little one ensemble 47. Look at that. There's our first rainstorm across the central United States into really tomorrow and Thursday. There's our first system across the west. That's again mainly rain. And then there's our pattern change. You can see across Washington, Montana, Idaho, some snow showers that quickly develops into a much more heavier and consistent snow as it moves into Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado. And look, that's a powerful snowstorm with a pretty good edge of snow into Wyoming. Obviously, a lot of rain into the Dakotas, but look, I mean, that produces a decent amount of snow, and definitely, the capital of Wyoming, Cheyenne, sees quite a bit right there. And as we launch this forward using that same ensemble, you can see that system does push itself into Canada, pretty well organized, but it leaves the the Wyoming area with quite a bit of snow. And again, this was a scenario that just based off the snowfall totals didn't look as exciting, but I forgot which one was it that looked extremely exciting. The 46th one, maybe? This one that showed a lot more snow than other models. Yeah, look at that already. Into Montana, Idaho. That is a definite snow monster. And not as much rain on the wet side of it, but look, as it transitions, jumps into Wyoming. Almost a statewide snowstorm. And it does develop that cold front, but eventually does move away. But not before leaving a ton of snow for those areas. And this is a system it shows across the eastern United States, very far out. So, yeah, you can see a lot of spread. But again, I mean, if this a scenario like this were to occur, which isn't just one model, you could see it was probably every 2 or 3 ensembles was a scenario like this. That would be a massive system. So, it's becoming more likely, guys. Stay safe, stay tuned. I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.